Well, let's speak to Mark Kimmit in Washington, D.C. He's a former Brigadier General and Deputy Director for Strategy for the United States Army. Good to speak to you this evening, Mark Kimmit. You've just returned from Baghdad, which is 50 kilometers from Fallujah. What are you hearing about the progress being made there in terms of fighting?
Well, I think both the coalition and the Iraqi forces themselves are quite happy with the progress. Many thought it would take months to retake Fallujah, but from the reports that are coming out of Fallujah at this time, it seems to be going much quicker than people anticipated.
And what about the fight in Syria? What more can you tell us about Manbij pocket, the significance of that, and also how the US are working with the YPG?
Yep. Well, the Manbij pocket is fairly important. It allows the YPG and the Syrian forces to occupy the west side of the river and to protect that critical bridge from western Syria over to and towards Raqqa. So by holding back that bridge site, they effectively prevent ISIS from doing a counterattack into their flanks as they're heading south into Raqqa. The coalition, again, I think is quite pleased with the progress there. Again, U.S. forces and coalition forces are remaining in an advise and assist role, while the bulk of the forces is being done by the YPG and the Syrian forces themselves, the Syrian resistance forces themselves.
It still shows, obviously, that Syria is struggling. We've heard only just recently that Russia has managed to speak to the regime forces to allow this ceasefire in two areas, in Daraa and Mudammiya, for aid to finally reach people. I mean, they've been unable to get to these people for 4 years. There's still so much instability in this region.
No, I agree, and we've got to separate the fight against ISIS at Raqqa and the fight against Assad and his regime that, with the Russian and Iranian support, is proving to be such a terror on the people of Syria itself. There is a lot of instability in the region, and nobody should fool themselves into thinking when Fallujah is taken and possibly Raqqa is taken that this is the end of the war. In fact, in many ways, it's not even the end of the beginning. This is a generational struggle against these types of threats, and we're going to be fighting ISIS and their affiliated movements for years to come.
Now, the Syrian opposition has expressed its frustration about these peace talks, which have faltered at so many points. They've accused the regime of using starvation strategy.
And they have. I think that Assad's best hope, he believes, is by negotiated settlement, or if prolonging the negotiated settlement inside of Geneva. While those talks go on, he is trying to create facts on the ground in order to make sure that if there is ever a finalized agreement, that he's got the most land possible to bargain with.
I want to go back to the issue of the YPG. This is an organization that Turkey sees as an affiliate to the terror group, the PKK. Turkey has not been happy about the US forces wearing the insignia of the YPG.
No, and that was probably a bad choice on the part of the Special Forces commanders. They actually are wearing a patch that represents the female auxiliary of the YPG. But nonetheless, there are stark differences at this point between the strategy that Turkey would like to employ, which is to go after Assad first and ISIS second, and the rest of the coalition has a view to go after ISIS first, and more importantly, try to achieve a settlement with the Syrian government at the peace table in Geneva.
Okay, Mark Kimmit in Washington, D.C., thanks for your insight.